Hello everyone, welcome to iExamB, and in this video I'll be continuing ahead with the mock test series which we have started with respect to the various law subjects, the topics under those which are very important from the exam point of view. So continuing ahead with the same, in this particular video I'll be discussing about the insolvency and bankruptcy code और उसके अंदर मैं जो topic को cover करूंगी through these MCQs, through these mock tests is the liquidation process under the code. Before that, do remember to subscribe to our channel and press on the bell icon so that you can stay tuned and stay updated. अगर आपको कोई भी questions हो, queries हो, doubt हो, आप हमें mail लिख सकते हो इस email ID पे, या फिर आप हमें call भी कर सकते हो इस number पे, or you can even visit our website wherein you will get all the details with respect to the various competitive exams. Now, as I already mentioned, आज हम इस वीडियो में insolvency and bankruptcy code से related एक बहुत important topic को देखेंगे, that is the liquidation process. So the various important aspects with respect to the liquidation process of the corporate debtor we'll be looking in this video through the various MCQs. So the very first question is, the liquidator shall form an estate of the assets of the corporate debtor during the liquidation process, which is known as. So when the liquidation process with respect to the corporate debtor that begins, तो क्या होता है कि जो liquidator appoint होता है वो जो होता है वो liquidator जो है एक estate को form करता है जो भी assets corporate debtor का होता है उसका, and there is a specific name which the code has given to that particular estate of the assets of the corporate debt. Which of these is the correct option? We have to look onto that. So you can see the various terms which have been used are liquidation asset, liquidation estate, liquidation property, or it could be all of the above, or it be either of the above. So the correct option for this particular question is B, that is the liquidation estate. So liquidation estate is the term जो कि दिया गया है जो भी assets है corporate debtor के उसके estate को दिया गया है when it is undergoing a liquidation process. So you can see that the very definition of the liquidation estate or what liquidation estate is as provided under section 36. The next question is, when can the liquidation process be initiated? Talking about the liquidation process, when that particular process can be initiated with respect to the corporate debtor is an important aspect. Before moving ahead, like इस पूरी वीडियो में हम liquidation के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. So hope you're clear that what is liquidation. Liquidation क्या है, ये process actually क्या होता है with respect to the corporate debtor. ठीक है. So liquidation को आप समझ सकते हो वो process है जहाँ corporate debtor जो है dissolve हो जाता है या फिर wound up हो जाता है. Okay. इसका basically ये मतलब होता है कि जो corporate debtor है उसका existence जो है that comes to an end and it no longer remains in existence. So liquidation is that. So when this process can be initiated is an important thing with respect to it. So the correct option over here is either of the above, A or B or C. So what is a committee of creditor? If they resolve to liquidate the corporate debtor, then the liquidation process can be initiated. Where the adjudicating authority does not receive the resolution plan before the expiry of the specified period, the adjudicating authority, if it rejects the resolution plan in case of non-compliance of the, तो आप देख सकते हो section 33 is talking about the initiation of the liquidation process, and it mentions that where the adjudicating authority before the expiry of the insolvency resolution period. So insolvency resolution period के expiry के पहले या फिर जो भी maximum period permitted है for the completion of that particular process या फिर fast track resolution process से related जो time period है, if these time period which are specified within that, if the authority does not receive the resolution plan, then in that case there can be an order with respect to the liquidation of the corporate debtor. Again, you can see the or word is used. Either of these situations, if they exist, the liquidation process can be initiated. If the authority rejects the resolution plan for non-compliance of the requirements, then in either of these situations, the authority can pass an order which will require that the corporate debtor should be liquidated and there should be a public announcement with respect to the liquidation of the corporate debtor. Then that order is required to be sent to the authorities where the corporate debtor is registered, etc. This is after the liquidation process is initiated or order with respect to it is passed by the authority. Then what is required to be done is what this particular portion is talking about. Now talking about under the IBC, the liquidator shall receive or collect claims of the creditors within a period of dash from the date of the commencement of the liquidation process. So code के अंदर जो liquidator है उसको जो है receive होगा या वो collect कर सकता है creditors के जो भी claims हैं एक specified time period के अंदर when that from the very commencement of the liquidation process, and what is that particular time period. That is also important with respect to the collection of those claims etc. of the creditors, and that is 30 days. So C is the correct option over here, and section 38 that talks about it. क्या कहता है वो? Consolidation of the claims. So liquidator will be receiving or collecting the claims of creditors within a period of 30 days from the very commencement of the liquidation process. Again, जब हमने IBC से related mock test MCQs किए थे previous video में, over there we saw, मैंने आपको क्वेश्चन में बताया था कि not only the time period, the duration is important, but from when that will be taken into effect or consideration, that is also important. So यहाँ पे within a period of 30 days जो है, the liquidator will be receiving or collecting the claims of creditors, but that is from the very date of commencement. जब liquidation process commence हुआ तब से 30 days के under. Now the next question is, when shall a corporate debtor be deemed to have been given a preference as per the provisions of preferential transactions under the code? So see, there are certain category of transactions which have been termed as what? Avoidable transactions. So these transactions are avoidable transactions. They are required to be avoided so as to जो भी objective है जिसके लिए कोड को इफेक्ट में लाया गया, that is not being affected, that is not being hampered, and so ये जो avoidable transactions है जिस अंदर जो है आपका preferential, undervalued और extortionate transactions आ जाते हैं, ये सारे को avoid करना है. So specifically talking about the preferential transactions, so when can the corporate debtor be considered that he has given a preference as per the preferential transactions under the code? So the correct option is A and C. So this is the situation when it will be considered that there is a preferential transaction that has taken into effect. And what is it? If there is a transfer of property or interest of the corporate debtor for the benefit of creditor or surety or guarantor for on an account of an antecedent financial debt or operational debt or other liabilities owned by the corporate debtor, and if the transfer has the effect of putting the creditor or surety or guarantor in a beneficial position. So अब देखो preferential transaction में preference दिया जा रहा है एक को दूसरों के comparison में. So over there one is put in a beneficial profitable position, and that would actually not would have been the situation or even in case when there is a distribution of the assets. So section 43 is talking about preferential transactions and relevant time. अब ये जो सारे टाइप के transactions है, avoidable transactions है, preferential, undervalued और the extortionate one, इसमें relevant time भी बहुत important है कि कब से consider किया जाएगा एक particular transaction को falling into these categories. So preference shall be deemed to be given at a relevant time under the code if it is given to a related party during the period of. तो अभी just मैं आपको ये बता रही थी कि जो relevant time period है वो जो है दो categories में है. One is with respect to related party and one is with respect to others. Okay, in general. So अब यहाँ पे वही question है कि preference जो है कब माना जाएगा दिया गया है particular relevant time में under the code. So the relevant time is 2 years preceding the insolvency commencement date. तो जिस दिन भी insolvency commencement date है, जो भी day insolvency commencement date है, उस day से 2 years preceding मतलब 2 साल पहले को consider किया जाएगा as a relevant time with respect to related parties, and it will be seen whether any preference has been given at that particular time period of 2 years which is preceding the insolvency commencement date. So आप देख सकते हो section 43 is talking about this which we were doing in the previous question also. So it talks about a preference be deemed to be given at a relevant time if it is a related party during the period of 2 years preceding insolvency commencement date, or be a preference given to the persons who are other than related parties. So 1 year is with respect to others and 2 years with respect to related parties. That is the relevant time period. Next is who can make an application to the adjudicating authority for avoidance of extortionate credit transactions if the terms of such transaction required exorbitant payment to be made by the corporate debtor as per the provisions of IBC. So extortionate transaction क्या हो गया? एक type of avoidable transaction था जो मैंने बोला था. वहाँ पे that is exorbitant payments, excessive terms with respect to payments and all that is involved, and that is basically exorbitant credit transaction. So who can make an application with respect to that to the authority? And that is liquidator can make or the resolution professional can make. Either of these can make. Section 50 is talking about the extortionate credit transaction. Now according to the code, the proceeds from the sale of the liquidation assets shall be distributed in what order of priority? Again this is important. Generally इसको हम term देते हैं waterfall mechanism, which is basically how the proceeds from the sale of the liquidation asset that will be distributed in the order of priority, who has to be given priority over whom with respect to that particular distribution of the proceeds. So basically इसमें आपको ये सारे options यहाँ पे दिए हुए हैं and different combinations have been given with respect to that. So you can say any remaining debts and dues, financial debts owed to unsecured creditors, the insolvency resolution process cost and liquidation cost paid in full, wages and unpaid dues owed to employees, other workmen for the period of 12 months preceding the liquidation commencement date, debts which shall rank equally between and among workmen's dues for the period of 24 months preceding the liquidation commencement date, and debts owed to secured creditors in the event such secured creditor has relinquished security. So अब ये सारे options में से आपको different combinations as I mentioned यहाँ दिया हुआ है and you have to select the most appropriate one. So the correct option with respect to this is option 2, that is CEDDA, that is the order of priority. Basically वहाँ पे जो हमारा options दिया है उसमें, and you can see section 53 specifically talking about the distribution of the assets, and it is mentioning that that particular section mentions that the sale of the proceeds from the sale of the liquidation asset that will be distributed in the following order of priority, and that order of priority is the insolvency resolution process का जो भी cost होगा, liquidation cost होगा, वो सारे पहले full में पे किए जाएंगे. Then जो भी debts rank कर रहे हैं equally between and among, किसके बीच में these debts are ranking equally. So workmen's due for the period of 12 months preceding the liquidation commencement date, debts owed to the secured creditor in the event such creditor has relinquished security, then wages and any unpaid dues which have been owed to employees other than workmen for the period of 12 months preceding the liquidation commencement date. तो ये सारी जो है hierarchy है, order of priority है, जिसमें कि proceeds जो है distribute होगा. Financial debts owed to unsecured creditors, following dues shall rank equally, that is those which are due to the central government and state government. Then debts which are owed to a secured creditor for any amount which has been unpaid with respect to enforcement of security interest, any remaining debts and dues, preference shareholders, equity shareholders. Now moving ahead, as laid down under section 43 of the code, a preference by a corporate debtor shall not include. Okay, so preference is not given by a corporate debtor when that particular situation is. So section 43 is talking about, and the correct option over here is A and B, when there is a transfer which is made in the ordinary course of business or financial affairs of the corporate debtor, any transfer creating a security interest in property acquired by corporate debtor to the extent that such transfer was registered with the information utility on or before 30 days after the corporate debtor receives possession of such property. So section 3 is talking about this. Then according to the code, the liquidator shall communicate his decision of admission or rejection of the claims to the creditor and corporate debtor within dash of admission or rejection of claim. तो कितने दिनों के अंदर liquidation को communicate करना है उसके decision का with respect to whether he is admitting or rejecting any claim which is made to him by the creditor. So again, जैसा कि मैंने आपको previous video में भी बोला था, एक question को जब आप खड़े हो तो try to cover not only that particular question which is given but other aspects related to it. Okay, so यहाँ क्या है, liquidator जो है communicate करेगा अपने decision को with respect to admission or rejection of claims. किसको communicate करना है, corporate debtor को, creditor को, कितने दिनों में करना है, 7 days में करना है, and 7 days has to be taken into consideration from when, from the admission or rejection of the claims. Section 40 is talking about that. Now what is the relevant time period for avoidable transactions under the code? So 1 year preceding the insolvency commencement date, 2 years preceding the insolvency commencement date, 2 years after the insolvency commencement date. यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हो with any party, with related party, with related party, and other combinations are given. So the correct option over here is A and B. 1 year preceding the insolvency commencement date with any person हमने देखा था, अगर apart from related party कोई भी है, and 2 years preceding the insolvency commencement date with the related party. Again देखो, आप question के लिए जो options है उसमें B और C जो बहुत near है. You have to be very careful because these are the near options जो हम कहते हैं exam में आता है, जो कि confusing हो जाता है in the exam scenario. So this was all about the IBC liquidation process. In the next video, we'll be continuing with other topics under the code. Before I end this particular video, I would like to update you that we at iExamB, we are having a judiciary course, which is an online course wherein we are providing you revision and practice test. This has actually started from 18th of March. Already ये start हो चुका है. आपके पास 6 महीने का duration है और इस particular course में हम आपको provide कर रहे हैं 2 tests for each of the prelims and the mains, and that is provided per week. And one class is there which is being held with respect के जो questions होते हैं जो कि descriptive होते हैं उसके discussion के लिए per week. Stay tuned and stay updated.